Hi, I'm Tree and this is Stitchless TV. And today I'm at the Knitting and Stitching Show in Olympia. And I'm just about to start doing my infinity scarf workshop. And I thought I'd share it with you. So today we're going to make this backed out circle infinity scarf. So you get a piece of material, you can make it as long or as short as you want. I think mine's 45 wide by 80 centimetres long, but I recommend you doing it kind of double that because it looks nice when it's all kind of scrunched up. And you get your fabric, which was printed at a place called Contrado, and I'll tell you about that afterwards, digital fabric printing. You get your fabric and you've got to put it right sides together. Now I've prepared your fabric with notches because I use this method of sewing that I call speed sewing because it's really quick. And when we do speed sewing, about 80% of the time we don't use pins. So when I work, what we do is we do notches and we use them as landmarks. So before I would begin, I'd line up my first notch and I'd simply, in my mind, I'm just working to that first notch. I would then work on, find the next one and then move to the next notch. And I just do that on, 3 meters of fabric or in this case, 80 centimeters. Right, but in this situation, you've got 2 little triangle notches. And what I want you to do is start at the top, go backwards and forwards, go to the first triangle notch, backwards and forwards and come off. Because I need a little hole here in this side seam. And then you're going to start again and you're going to work your way down, but you'll see I've put some little snips going down, so you'll use those as your landmarks. So my fabric's right sides together, I'm lining up my first notch, which is for my hole. You can do whatever seam allowance you want, but a tip is if you do too small a seam allowance, it's very, very difficult to manage your fabric. So I wouldn't go any smaller than 1 centimetre. So I put my needle in whilst I adjust my fabric. So I always say when you sew, it's good, like with cooking, prepare your fabric as much as possible before, and then you can sew much more effectively. So we're going to go forward, where's the back? We're going to go forward a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to press the button that goes like that to go backwards. And then I'm just going to sew to the first notch. And then I'm going to go backwards. So we go backwards and forwards. I know you'll probably all know this, but some of you may not, to close off the seam. If I was doing a hem or a stitch line that would show, then I'd stop and I pull the thread from the top to below and I tie it off. But it's a complete waste to do it inside a seam because no one's going to see it. No, when you take your thread away, do a little wiggle, which I didn't do. So I'm going to leave a little gap and I'm going to start at the next triangular notch. So leaving a hole. Needle in, adjust my fabric, find my landmark, which is my first little snip, my first notch. So I'm going to go back forwards and backwards. Okay, so I'll stop at that first notch and then I'll look for my next one, which is somewhere around there. So I'm going to head to the next notch. And then I'll pause when I get there, line it up at the end. Now using the notch method you'll find nothing at all moves. And then when you get to the end, then you go backwards, forwards to close off the end. Jiggle as you pull it. And then cut off your loose threads. Good to be tidy when you sew. I'm going to stand up for this because usually you would have a great big long infinity scarf. Now I want you to turn it the right way round, like that, and you'll have your hole at the top. So I've now got it the right way round. I'm going to put my hand through that hole, and I'm holding onto that seam. Now if it was really long, and I hold it up, that seam would fall, the weight of it would fall straight down, and I could be sure that it wouldn't twist. So that's why we do it sort of standing up. And then I get the seam and I'm going to bring it up to exactly meet that other seam. I'm going to hold on to it and pull it through the hole like that, and then open it out Now with that seam, that side seam, exactly lined up, if I pull it out like that, and put a little notch on the other side, because sewing around the circumference of that thing, sometimes you can lose track of where you're going, then I can line up that notch as I go around, and then I can be sure that everything will line up properly. So I'm going to start at the seam. Actually, I don't know, have any of you made scrunchies before, like hair scrunchies? Have you? Well, you can use this method, although it's a little bit more fiddly because everything's all tiny weeny. You can use this method for making scrunchies, and all you would do is just thread elastic through, and it's exactly the same thing. Starting at the side seam and lining up my notches, I'm just going to sew around that circumference. So it's kind of like when you put a sleeve, a lining in a sleeve. In fact, I probably should be doing it on the sleeve arm, but it's not really necessary. Now I didn't go backwards and forwards at the beginning, or forwards and backwards, because I'm just going to over sew where I started. Here. Okay. Cut off my threads. And that's all there is to it. So that's how you make an infinity scarf. Thank you so much for watching. See you again very soon. Bye.